What's up? It's your boy Brian Ash, aka the Handsome Fister, and as you can tell, I'm in the dungeon with the boys. Look, he's sitting there playing Fork Knife, and the other one's playing Fork Knife on Xbox. Probably they're disappointments because I got the Call of Duty head on, and they're disappointments. Tried to break the cycle of bad gaming, and it didn't work. Anyway, enough of that. So this video is actually about something serious and important to me. It's called breaking the cycle and breaking cycles. It's fact, and it's been studied and researched that, for instance, the work that I do is generally related to the work that my father does, and his father was blue collar, and so um, people get stuck into like the systematic life of like dad gets you a job when you turn 18 or whatever, right? So or mom was a housewife, so you're a housewife, or mom was a teacher, so you're a teacher. So there's it's systematic stuff, and it's almost like taught raised behavior, like how your parents say, I want you to have more than I had. Now I think that's like a toxic statement because that puts a lot of pressure on you to be better than your parents. Now the goal is not to be better than your parents, but it's to be happier than your parents. And I used to make this mistake all the time with my kids, all the time. Like they would say, "Oh, I want to do this," and I'd be like, "Well, that job doesn't pay that much. You might want to think about something else." And so, um, as I started doing some research myself, I started realizing that I was creating uh, I was creating the cycle that I couldn't break myself. Which, don't get me wrong, I live a great life. My life is fantastic. I make good money at my job. I'm happy with my job. I'm happy with my life. But it also deterred me from trying to do things that I would have normally wanted to do, like, such as this YouTube channel. Like, I started it when I was like 36 years old, like this one right here. And then the one when I was in the music business, from like 2007 or whatever, or 2011 when I was doing that YouTube channel. It was different, and my mindset was different back then. So anyway, the reason why I did that one was strictly because of music promotion and trying to do things with music. And and it was a really selfish channel. Whew, I went back and watched it. I was like, ah. So what I'm talking about is trying to break the cycles. Like, I'll never say that toxic shit to my kids again. Like, I want you to have more than me. I'm trying to teach them that they should be happier than me. You should reach for happiness in whatever you do, um, because that is what the real um, return on investment is if you're happy. Like, for instance, 2017, I made more money than I had ever made in my life, and it was the most miserable year of my life. Sounds funny. I know you've probably heard me say that before, but yeah, in 2017, I made X amount of dollars, which was exponentially larger than any dollar amount that I ever made in my life. But I was more miserable that year than any year in my life. Now, and I can hear people now. Oh, it's just because you were working too much. You were doing, and maybe no, it wasn't just that. Like there was, it was everything, and I just got tired and quote unquote burnt out, and and I wasn't happy. I was miserable. So I had to try and find my happiness, my inner peace, and it took me a really really long time to do it. And I still struggle with that now and then here too. So um, what I'm going to try and do when from now on when it comes to raising my kids and my children is to try and break the cycles that I was in, right? Like um, if for instance one of my kids is like, I want to be a teacher, like an art teacher, I'd be like, yeah, go ahead. Like, yeah, that's great. Da 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 da. What can I do to help you? Instead of like, well, teachers only make like 30, 40,000 a year. Like, you might want to try something else. Da, da, da. And then you got to deal with kids, yeah. So I'm gonna try and not be negative anymore with anything that they want to do, because if I can break that cycle and get them to do what they want to do, and it was funny, me and Silas Rage were talking about it, I think last weekend, and he was talking about the systematic cycles in the urban ghetto areas or the hoods, and how the cycle is like, you know, woman gets impregnated, has to go on, government aid because she can't afford to live, which in turn, i.e., keeps the father out of the house and out of the life of the child. The child gets, raised, and then he does the same thing because that's all he knows. So, or, like, dad was a drug dealer, so son sees that, son becomes drug dealer. And even with the women too, like, well, my mom got pregnant at 15, so why can't I? You know what I'm saying? So like, what I'm trying to do is break these cycles, because I had kids very young. I was 20 years old the first time, when my oldest was born, and I was 21 when my second oldest was born. You know what I'm saying? And so like, I was forced to grow up real quick when I wasn't ready. Now, granted, I'd never take back my kids, because they're awesome. They're some of the coolest people you'll ever meet, and hopefully one of these days you'll meet them on a video. But so they do, and they probably saved my life in a way too, right? Because anyway, self-destructive behavior. But that's a whole other animal. And so yeah, so like, I don't want them to think that it's cool to not chase your dreams and do what I did, because I had a job. I was working in the auto industry and life was good. And, the girlfriend got pregnant, became my ex wife. And so, um, and then in my family, like, you know, their divorce in my family is huge, right? So, like, we all got divorced once. And you know what I'm saying? They got remarried. So, that's just, it's every single person in my family was like that, except for my one brother who's never been married. But my brother and my sister the same way, my parents. So that's just how it's systematically in our family, that's like normal. So I'm trying to break the normalcy of the cycles that I've seen in my life with my kids, so they are happy and happier. So um, it's a struggle. It's a daily struggle, because you want them to be super successful. You want them to be uber successful. You want them to have whatever they want and to be as happy as possible. But um, the truth is if you interject your thoughts, it puts doubt in their heads on what they really want to do, and you don't want them to do something that they think you want to do. You want them to do because you would be not proud of them if they did what they wanted to do. So you have to, in my mind, like, I'm gonna be proud of my children no matter what they do. You know, unless if they get in trouble, I'll help them. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, I don't want them to. I just want them to be happy, be successful, and be happy. And success is happiness. So as long as they're happy and successful and they can take care of themselves and take care of their families, I'm gonna be proud of them regardless. So um, I'm gonna break the cycles that I was involved in. In I'm not like I'm saying my life isn't bad. My life isn't, but there's things I didn't chase because I didn't think that I'd get approval. So and it was just because that's how, like, I want my kids to have more than me. Uh, I want you to, this, that, but the cycles that I don't want to break is, the work ethic, work hard. You got to work hard to get what you want. Nothing in life's free. So those are solid foundations that I had, but or have and was taught by my parents. But there's other things that like I didn't chase certain things because I was afraid that they would look down on me for it. So I don't ever want my kids to think that if they were on to do something, I would look down on them. Like my boys stream video games, and I'm very encouraging on that because guess what? I do the same shit. So I want them to feel comfortable with doing that kind of stuff. And whether they make money or not, as long as they're happy doing it and having fun, I'm good with it. So, um, yeah, that's basically it on breaking cycles, man. Like think about it, and you have to do self-evaluation. Like think about the things that you didn't like when you were growing up and how you're gonna break that cycle with your kids. And that's a hard thing to do. Self-evaluation, learn yourself, know your truth, and know your happiness. It's your boy Brian Ash, aka the Handsome Fister. Peace.